Hey everyone, Jexie here. Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to discuss the concept of having pain while in recovery, whether it be chronic pain, a toothache, maybe you've gotten in a car accident. The longer we're in recovery, the more likely it is that we'll have to deal with some type of pain issue. So what do we do? So, first off, when discussing pain, I think it's really important to recognize that every person is different. No two people handle pain the same way, and so oftentimes we try to help based on our own experience, but that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody else's suggestion is going to help us. I'm going to give you some personal experiences I've had with pain and recovery, as well as experiences of other people that I have known, so that perhaps you can get a little bit of hope that there is ways to get through pain and recovery. So before I share my experience, I think there's two important things to remember. The first is we don't always need pain medication as often as we would think. Our brains are really, really good at assuming that we need those types of meds. We often assume that the worst when it comes to pain, but in reality, other non-narcotic medications do wonders when you're in recovery. When you're no longer using any substance, those meds can be really, really effective. The second thing to remember is that just because you're in recovery doesn't mean you have to be in pain either. So if you are having some type of surgery or you have some type of problem that requires that you have to take pain medication, that doesn't mean you're using. I think what's important to remember is that especially for opiate addicts, our brains are real good at deceiving us. And so it is going to be real easy for someone like me to have that part of my brain like activated again if I take narcotics, even if I really need them. So taking safety precautions like having a family member hold them, talking regularly with your sponsor or your network as you're going through the pain issue when you're taking meds is going to be really important. So there's a lot of things to consider. But again, by sharing my experience, I hope to show you that, no matter what, you can get through this. And you can get through it clean, regardless of whether you have to take medication or not. So my first experience was right around before I got clean. I had needed a root canal. I had put it off and put it off, and then when I was in rehab, it became very apparent that I needed this root canal done. Um, I was really, really nervous about it because I have very sensitive teeth. For those of you who follow me, you know that my mouth is a mess right now. And I knew I needed this root canal, but I wanted to put it off as long as I could because I was really afraid, like, what happens if I needed pain meds? And I didn't think early recovery was a good time to test out whether I would be able to take them successfully. So I put it off and put it off, and I don't know, maybe it was about 60 days. Yeah, 60 or 90 days clean. It was pretty soon. I was I no longer had a choice. I had gotten an abscess. It had gotten very infected. I was in massive amounts of pain. I couldn't chew. I couldn't think. Like, it was terrible, and I had to get it taken care of. So I was really, really worried. But luckily, I spoke to the dentist. I told him that I was in recovery. I told him I didn't want to take pain meds. And so he gave me 800 milligram ibuprofen. And he said, look, if it becomes really bad, come back and we'll talk about it and we'll see what we can do, right? So my first mistake was not getting the ibuprofen filled ahead of time. My suggestion for anybody who is going to take 800 milligram ibuprofen or anything like that is to get them filled immediately, if not before you have the procedure done, so you have them. I learned from this mistake and I applied that principle later on. But so I had this procedure done. I was numb, but it was starting to hurt really bad. So I drove to the pharmacy and I dropped off my prescription. And they told me it would be, and I waited. So I waited there. It was like 15, 20 minutes. By the time I got the ibuprofen, I was in roaring pain. And I was like, there's no way. I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to need pain meds. I can't get through this. This is terrible. And I decided that what I was going to do was I was going to take one of the ibuprofen and I was going to drive 20 minutes away, just away from the dentist and the pharmacy because they were in the same parking lot. I was just going to drive 20 minutes in the opposite direction, and if in 20 minutes I was still in pain, I would turn around and drive back. So that essentially gave me 40 minutes to figure out what I wanted to do. And I figured by this, I wasn't making any rash decisions, and I was giving the ibuprofen time to work. So no joke, I did just that. I went to drive 20 minutes. I took the ibuprofen and I went to drive 20 minutes away. I got 18 minutes away, and the pain lessened significantly. The ibuprofen had kicked in, and I was feeling so much better. Had I rushed to go right back and say the pain is too bad, I can't manage, I'm sure the dentist would have given me the painkillers. But it probably would have set me off. I was in such early recovery, and I was living alone at the time, that having those kind of painkillers on me with nobody to help me monitor them was just going to be a bad idea. So it was really great that I was able to be patient. I followed what I had learned from other recovering addicts, and I had waited. Now, one of the reasons that I had even considered that I wouldn't need pain meds for a root canal was actually because of another recovering addict. I remember I had gone to a 12-step recovery program, and I had shared about the fact that I was really nervous that I may have to take pain medications for a root canal. And I'll never forget, this woman, raised her hand. She stood up to share, and she was like, I had 8 root canals at the same time when I was in recovery, and I didn't need pain meds at all. If I didn't need them, you don't need them. Now, although I don't really go by that philosophy, it did help me consider, do I really need these meds? So in Maryland, somebody from my old area, I remember they had neck and back surgery, like pretty severe surgery. It wasn't just like a little thing. Like they were in a whole like brace and like it was crazy. They went through that entire recovery without taking anything stronger than ibuprofen. And I remember being amazed. Like he had real surgery, not like I broke my toe, but like his back and neck, and he didn't take any pain meds. And he's like, I'm in recovery. I don't need them. So I say this to you to give you some hope that just because you have something major that's going on doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to need pain medication. We have our brains have a way of helping us through really large pain issues without needing medication. Now, on the flip side, it does not in any way mean that if you need medication that you should suffer. And I think that's one problem that a lot of people in recovery have is that they equate, I either take medication and I relapse or I'm using, or I just have to suffer through it. And nobody wants you to suffer. Nobody says you have to suffer through it. Just because we're addicts doesn't mean we have to live in pain. We have the right to get treatment just like anybody else does. And look, it's always going to be much harder to manage medications when you're in recovery. It's just part of the disease. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us. It's just harder. But there's a lot of precautions and stuff that we can do, that we can take. We just have to be honest about where we are and how we feel about things. We need to reach out to other addicts who have experience, whether it be not taking pain medications or taking pain medications. People in chronic pain, it's a much more complicated issue. I would argue that pain medication technically has been shown not to be good on a chronic basis anyway. But look, I'm not trying to give opinions on what you should or shouldn't do regarding your pain. All I want to do is offer hope that no matter what, you're not alone. Other addicts have gone through these experiences. Other addicts have had to go through this. All you have to do is honest, open-minded, and being willing to talk about it. Now, those are words that you hear a lot in 12-step programs, but they're really valid anywhere. So, for the record, this video is going to be cut a lot, and that's because on the bottom of my screen, like where I'm looking, my camera keeps coming up saying there's an issue, and when it comes up, that usually means the video is corrupted. So I try to stop talking when that happens so I can just edit everything, like those pauses out. So if you see a lot of jump cuts, that's why. But one day I'll figure all this out. But yeah, so I just want you to know that when it comes to dealing with pain, you have the same type of options that a person who's not in recovery has. We just, as addicts, have to be more careful. Let's be real, we generally have to be more careful with a lot of things. It's part of living with the disease of addiction. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us. You know, people with any type of disease have to make alterations to their day-to-day. They have to make changes that represent a life living with that disease. Diabetics maybe have to take insulin. They have to change their diet. It doesn't mean that they can never go out to eat again. They just have to make different choices. So that's kind of the same way it is for addicts. We don't have to make ourselves suffer, but we just need to be much more careful and really think about what choices we're making to deal with pain. Again, chronic pain becomes a much more complicated issue, and one that I don't really feel that I'm qualified to share about in regards to pros or cons about pain meds, because I've really seen both. And I'd rather stick to short-term pain for this video, because I feel like if I'm going to do commentary on long-term pain medication, I would like to have real research to reference and to talk about, and have real studies for us to look at. I'm just talking about experience with other addicts in recovery. Because when it comes down to it, that's what recovery is about. Recovery is about leaning on other addicts, asking for help when we need it, and sharing our own stories so others know, like, hope is available. I could have went back to that dentist and got pain meds, but you know what? More recently, I had another problem. I had to get a tooth pulled. It was awful. And then I got dry socket. And let me tell you, if you've never experienced dry socket, oh, the pain was so deep in my head, I cannot even begin to describe it. But I went into that dentist and I said, I'm having a problem. I was crying. I need help. This is awful, right? But she gave me some type of cream or something. She gave me like a mouthwash, and those things worked wonderfully. And never did it. She told me I could take pain meds, but she said I wouldn't need them if I used these things. And I was confident that I didn't need pain meds because I had been through painful experiences before and not needed them. So I hope you guys found some hope with this video. Hope that no matter what, you can get through it. And no matter what choices you make, you're not alone. You're never alone. We need each other. We need to lean on each other, and we need to love each other. And together, we can get through anything, even severe pain. So let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Subscribe to my channel. That helps me in a big way. I'm trying to reach as many people as possible and let them know that recovery is real. If you'd like to support this channel and help me continue to grow, you can absolutely sign up for my Patreon. I do post some blog type videos on there, as well as more personal stories that I can't really share on YouTube. So the link for that's down below. And don't forget, tomorrow, Wednesday, we always do a live game of trivia at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow night. Have a great day. Bye, guys.